In 1921, a ship carrying 29 men sailed from Auckland to Durban. They had no idea they were about to start the most brutal, beautiful, and enduring rivalry in rugby history. 104 years later, it's still not settled. And 2 days ago, the All Blacks dropped a bombshell. 44 players, a touring squad so deep, so calculated, it tells you everything you need to know about what's coming. New Zealand just sent a message to South Africa, not with words, with names on paper. This is the story of rugby's greatest rivalry, and why the next chapter might be the most explosive yet. Let's talk about what just happened. The All Blacks don't name 44-man squads for ordinary tours. They don't pack that kind of depth for friendly matches in July. They do it when the destination is South Africa, and they do it when they're not coming for handshakes. This is the Greatest Rivalry Tour, named after the very thing that defines these two nations when they step onto a rugby pitch. Not a series, not a test match window, a tour built around one idea, that when the Springboks and All Blacks play, the rugby world stops. And the squad itself? It is surgical. It is loaded. Every position has a specialist, every specialist has a backup, and every backup has a point to prove. This isn't a travelling party. This is an invasion force. But here is what makes this moment different. For the first time in a generation, this rivalry is balanced on a knife's edge. South Africa are back-to-back world champions. New Zealand are not. That fact alone has flipped the psychology of every single encounter between these two teams. To understand why this matters, you have to understand what this rivalry is built on. It is not built on trophies. It is built on moments. Moments like the 1995 World Cup final, Nelson Mandela, Francois Pienaar, a nation holding its breath. That day, rugby was bigger than rugby. Moments like the 2013 Ellis Park Classic, widely considered the greatest test match ever played. Bismarck du Plessis sent off. The All Blacks scoring 4 tries in a second-half blitz. South Africa holding on with nothing but raw defiance. Moments like 2017. The All Blacks winning 57-0 in Albany, the darkest day in Springbok history. And then, just 1 year later, South Africa beating them in Wellington, the first sign that Rassie Erasmus was building something special. Every time these two teams meet, they don't just play a rugby match. They add a chapter to a book that started in 1921 and still isn't finished. The records are almost identical, the wins nearly even, the pain and the glory distributed almost perfectly across a century of combat. That is why 44 names on a squad sheet feel like a declaration. So what happens when these 44 All Blacks land in South Africa? What are the battles that will decide this tour? First, the forward pack. This is where Springboks All Blacks games are always won and lost. The scrum, the maul, the dark places where no referee can see. South Africa's bomb squad has been the most feared bench in rugby for 5 years. New Zealand will try to match that physicality, and that is not something the All Blacks have historically done. They win with pace. South Africa wins with power. The question is whether New Zealand can do both. Second, the halfback duel. Whoever controls the tempo controls the game. The Springboks will want it slow, heavy, set-piece rugby. The All Blacks will want chaos, quick ball, broken field running. The team that imposes their rhythm wins. Third, the breakdown. This is the psychological war within the war. Who gets there first? Who disrupts? Who forces the penalty that breaks momentum? At this level, one turnover in the 67th minute can define a tour. Here is what I think happens. The first test will be a war of attrition. Neither team will give an inch. The score will be tight, the collisions brutal, and the result will come down to one moment of brilliance or one critical mistake. The second test is where the tour is won or lost. Whoever lost the first one will come with everything. Adjustments will be made. The 44-man squad depth will be tested, and the team that can absorb the pressure and respond will take control of the narrative. But here is the one factor that no squad list can account for. South African crowds. Ellis Park, Loftus Versfeld, the green and gold faithful who turn a stadium into a furnace. The All Blacks have 44 players. South Africa has 60 million. New Zealand haven't won a series on South African soil in years. The Springboks haven't lost at home to the All Blacks since that dark day in 2017. Something has to give, and I believe it will. This All Black squad is too good, too deep, too hungry to leave empty-handed. They will win one test, but winning one test in South Africa is not enough. Winning the series? That requires something extra, something that even 44 names on a squad sheet cannot guarantee. One thing is certain. When these two teams walk onto the pitch, the rest of the rugby world will be watching. Because this is not just rugby, this is the greatest rivalry in sport. If you believe the Springboks defend their home turf, drop a Springbok in the comments. If you think the All Blacks pull off the series win, drop a black flag. Subscribe and hit the bell, because we will be covering every minute of the Greatest Rivalry tour right here on Trending Market. South Africa versus New Zealand. Let the Greatest Rivalry begin.